Welcome to Gold Coast Insider, where we bring you business insights, stories, opportunities and forecasts from movers and shakers across the Gold Coast. I'm your host, Estella Rodiguero. I'm CEO of Regional Development Australia Gold Coast. It's my pleasure to welcome my guest for today, which is Adam Chanter. Adam is the Marine Industry Skills Advisor, which is a national role funded through industry and the Department of State Development and Infrastructure through the Superyacht strategy. Welcome.
Thanks, Estella. Thanks for having me.
Adam, do you want to briefly outline what your role is? Like, you're heavily focused on raising the profile of the marine industry jobs and careers, but not just here for the Gold Coast, for the whole of Queensland.
Yeah, so the role that I'm currently in is it's a joint venture between three of the peak industry associations of Superyacht Australia, the Australian Commercial Marine Group, and the Australian International Marine Group, or AMEX with an I, those three peak associations, and the Department of State Development Infrastructure. So we're looking at developing the workforce capability of not just the Gold Coast, but the other regions that have been identified in the Queensland Government Superyacht strategy of Gold Coast, Brisbane, Mackay Whitsundays, and Cairns. All horrible places to travel to.
You have such a tough job. So Queensland's beautiful coastline and world-class marine environments are the envy of the world, and also amongst our state's leading tourism attraction.
Yeah, the coastline in Queensland, you've got the Great Barrier Reef in the north, right down to the Whitsundays, and we're seeing that more locations that are popping up south of the Whitsundays as well for marine-related tourism. It's Gold Coast has got some great locations as well, but it's more than just marine tourism, and that's some of the misconception we're changing.
And we'll get to that too. I mean, I think also that since COVID, there must have been a massive increase in the amount of people that are looking at, at boating activities and buying boats and jet skis and everything.
Yeah, well, I think the original predictions with COVID was that we were going to see GFC 2.0 for the marine industry. So when the GFC hit back in 2008, we saw a mass exodus of workforce coming out of the industry. 2,000 workers were just dissolved out of our marine boat building and manufacturing capability. Coal seam gas became a big industry, and so this skills vacuum occurred. And we've never been able to really recreate that capability in the industry. So when we went through COVID-19, this project, part of the scope was to look at what does the marine industry look like statewide in a post-COVID economy. And it was quite, some of the predictions was doom and gloom, GFC 2.0 for the skills capability industry. And now we land in a space where it was nothing but, production of manufacturers on the Gold Coast like Riviera, Maritime had seen record years in the 40 plus years they've been operating. The low rate of the Aussie dollar drove the interest in our high end yacht production to access foreign markets. So with that became an increase to the demand of skills.
So have we really positioned the Gold Coast in that super yacht sector? Has that been our major growth sector on the Gold Coast in that marine? And so what is a super yacht? Let's start there.
Yeah. Have you got one? I don't. Look, anything above 27 metres. So part of that increased activity of superyacht visitation to Australia comes from the work of our association. So Superyacht Australia attend foreign boat shows. We attend different conferences overseas to attract captains and owners to Australia. So, and the draw card is that the amount of private investment and government investment into our marine infrastructure is actually seeing a significant increase to the amount of yachts travelling to our shoreline. So we want them here for many things. They spend 10% of the vessel worth each year on maintenance, refit provisions. And with that expanding capability of, the yards on the Gold Coast, like Gold Coast City Marina and the boat works, they're doing some amazing work to entice these yachts into Australia, because if they're, it's $120 million yacht, and we're not talking Australian dollars, it's usually US dollars, they're spending 10% of that in somewhere in the world, and we want that here.
But there must be lots of places around the world that they can go to. Why would they? What would attract them here?
Yeah.
Besides the Australian dollar, which fluctuates, but why would they come here?
Yeah, there's you're seeing some landlock issues in sort of more of those traditional areas of the Caribbean and the Mediterranean. So our refit capability is one of those draw cards, and they're all looking for somewhere new. Our Western way of life, it's more attractive. They're not, there's less language barriers. We've got some really great government advocacy. There's some really great ambassadors out there that are flying the Australian flag.
Oh, excellent. And I think the proximity to, I know for Southport there was this big thing, and we'll get to that, the mega yacht berth in a minute. But isn't it the proximity to access, the land tourism, the places that we have on the Gold Coast? Isn't that a draw card too?
Yeah, well, I think Gold Coast is positioned. You think of 2 hours in any direction from the Gold Coast, and you're into northern New South Wales. You're into the beautiful hinterland where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And further north into the Sunshine Coast. So
how many super yachts are we talking? Do we have any idea how many there are around the world, or too many?
There's too many. However, the focus of my project is around developing the workforce.
The workforce.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with the yachts that are currently under build in the world at the moment, not a yacht that's going to be started their build process tomorrow. We require 22,000 additional crew to man those yachts.
And that's crew.
That's crew. Yes, that's the captains. It's the engineers. It's the stews, it's the deckhands. Yep, 22,000's the official.
Okay, so this makes it really interesting, and I want to get to the type of jobs that are going to be out there. But can we talk? I mentioned the mega yacht berth at Southport Yacht Club. That's been a game changer for us, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, what Mark Riddell and Brett James have done, and the Southport yacht team have done. It's nothing like that exists in the world. It's the ability to actually, you could have 130 meter vessel moored, or you could have, 2 vessels at 60 meters. We had the HMAS Maryborough came in before it was decommissioned. So the capability of that marine infrastructure, it kind of ties over to other sectors more than just the yachts. So, but the yachts is the shiny part of the industry. But the cross-pollination of the different sectors and the skills profile of the industry is, regardless if it's manufacturing for marine, or if it's commercial operations with tourism, or our defence sustainment capability, or our commercial shipping, they're all the same skills. So that profile, we talk super yachts as a nice glistening
we like
part. However, the conversation for super yachts is, we need to build our local workforce capability to make sure that we are prominent in that super yacht industry.
Yeah, and so my question to you was, like, with that phenomenal growth and the future projections, this must come with it comes with a lot of opportunities, but it must come with a lot of challenges, which is where predominantly your role comes in, doesn't it?
We are.
And we're not just talking about jobs on the actual super yachts. We're talking about so many other roles that you can have, or so many other skills or jobs you can have in this field. So what are some of them? Yeah,
so if you look at that pathway to obtain something as glamorous as a super yacht career, we look at local marine tourism. Is a really great pathway to that.
Okay.
You've got SeaWorld Cruises on the Gold Coast that have got a great program with their whale watching and the other services they provide through the Gold Coast waterways. So we say if you've got a love and a passion for the water, this industry is something you should really consider. If mum and dad have got a boat in the driveway, or if or you're on the water yourself, why would you want to do something that isn't of interest to you? So I use the SeaWorld Cruise as a great example. To obtain a boat license or a coxswain's license, and you dive tickets because you love being on the water, you can earn and learn while you do that process with some funded programs that exist. They've got a great employment program and to get young people into the industry, but it's all about getting your sea legs. So we say local careers, global opportunities. Start your local career in, it could be marine tourism. And that's the career pathway to give you the tickets to get onto a yacht.
Right.
And similar to, say, working in one of the production facilities, say Riviera Maritimo, it's start your boat building apprenticeship, start your marine mechanic or your diesel fitting apprenticeship. Yeah. And by the time, with a love and appreciation for the water, you could obtain the tickets and licenses that you require to be on a yacht by the time you're 21, 22.
So predominantly when we think of super yachts, I'm going to keep saying that word.
No, it's really cool. Great, isn't it?
Predominantly we do, we think of, working actually on that super yacht, but there's so many jobs in the Rivieras, in the trades out there. Like, and you mentioned some. There's got to be engineers. There's got to be design artists. There's got to be. So, do you want to talk us through the myriad that's out there? So you don't actually have to have sea legs. You can actually have land legs that want to build one.
And I think people gravitate towards some of those employment opportunities because of the location too. Like they're local to the northern part of the Gold Coast. But those, any of those production facilities on the Gold Coast, so Maritimo, Riviera, Telwater, BRP, or even the shipyards of Gold Coast City Marina and the boat works. There's 20 plus trades that go into actually building or sustaining or maintaining a vessel. So,
is it?
Yeah, and if it exists,
because there's the cabinetry, the cabinets. Let's work our way through this. There's going to be fiberglass.
So composite technician is the technical word.
Probably, right.
I prefer to say carbon fiber technicians.
It does sound better. I'll adopt that one.
You can do that.
Yeah.
So you've got boat building, which is essentially carpentry with a little bit more finesse.
Yep.
Cabinet making, diesel fitters, diesel mechanics, boiler makers for structural welding integrity on commercial vessels and other proponents. You've got upholstery. You have so anyone considering design or fashion. Why not do it on a vet? Why not do it?
Do they have designers for the inside?
Yeah, yep. So naval architect is the technical terminology. So there are naval architects that are based out of Coomera as well. So and in-house design teams as well. So a great way to get into something is what seems a world away, like naval architecture. Well, if you love programming or working with computers, computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing is a great way to get into that. There's businesses on the southern end of the Gold Coast there near Miami Marquetta, Marine Airflow. They build components and parts that go into majority of the vessels that operate through Coomera and across the world. So they need more in-house designers to undertake that type of work, and you're not needing a university degree to undertake it.
I was going to ask that. So what do you need? Like if I was at high school, I'm listening to this and I think, wow, that sounds pretty exciting. How would I go about it?
Well, again, there's plenty of pathways. So there's funded programs through state government that support young people into this industry. Between on the Gold Coast, we've got TAFE Queensland with their recently developed campus on Foxwell Road. They provide a suite of programs for technical trades, pre-employment programs for marine mechanics and boat builders. Major training group up in Yatala have just recently brought boat building and a suite of pre-employment programs on scope as well. So it's good to see there's a range of opportunities for young people. You look into, say, Paradigm training within the existing the boat works. They're providing pre-employment programs for young people to get their coxswains commercial tickets as well. So there's a range of opportunities that are funded and supported by the state.
Wow. But part of your role obviously is that coordination role and to get that information out, isn't it? So do you work closely with schools, and you work closely because we will get to the careers day as well, which but you work closely with schools? Yeah,
we try to send. There's a lot of. There's 130 on the Gold Coast or something. So we work with some state government representatives from the Department of Education to facilitate some of that message. Our industry partners push those messages into the schools as well. Our next phase of this project is looking at developing some resources to enable those influences in the school space or the career decision space to advocate for the industry.
Oh, good.
Because there's a misconception of what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it's dirty, it's dusty, it's dingy, is not what it is anymore. We need highly capable, highly competent young people that actually take some pride in what they do to, take up the roles that exist in this industry.
And I also think, Adam, that there's a need to clarify the roles. Like, we've got some really amazing titles for jobs, but it doesn't necessarily resonate with young people, does it?
No, I mean, I went into speaking.
What is it, a composite?
A composite technician. I think they've fallen asleep before I've finished.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. What that is myself. So.
I'd prefer to say, in some the composite type of role where you might be building the hulls or the decks in some of these vessels, it leads into that high-end carbon fibre capability. That's not just for this industry either. That ties into our aerospace capability. It ties into the requirements for defence. So, again, a suite of opportunities. It's just getting young people, providing the local opportunity or giving them the awareness that these opportunities exist.
Because it can be a stepping stone. And a lot of those roles can go across different sectors. They can go across, as you say, the space sector and they can go across a lot of sectors. So once they start in there, they can have a career projection, can't they?
Yeah, and we've just undertaken a body of work with Jobs Queensland to facilitate a regional workforce plan for the marine and maritime industry. It's unfortunately for Gold Coast, the initiative has been delivered in Cairns as a first rollout.
Okay.
But the modelling of the workforce is realistically the most well thought through framework to paint a really realistic picture of the industry. But it also runs in parallel to the aviation sector. So they see the skills portability across aviation and marine and maritime is quite similar, except one's on water and one's in the air.
But so that's being rolled out in Cairns. Is there an appetite to roll that out on the Gold Coast, or do you think it will be rolled out on the Gold Coast eventually?
I would hope that it's a national framework that's adopted. So I believe Gold Coast would be the next frontier that we'd like to undertake that regional or that profiling of the industry. This project has us working over in WA with Henderson and Fremantle. There's Henderson in Western Australia is Australia's only super yacht manufacturer and builders. We maintain and sustain them quite efficiently over here. So the project is industry led. So we're looking at that framework needs to be adopted on a national level if we're ever going to get serious about addressing this skills crisis issue.
And really, since COVID, I hate saying that word, since COVID, we're more intent now on letting employing locals, skilling locals for local employment. And we're so lucky here on the Gold Coast because we have so many wonderful sectors, such as the marine sector, and we're doing some amazing things in the marine sector. So it's not just, repairs and smaller boats and jet skis and whatever. We've also got the high end as well. So it's really a greenfield site, isn't it, for young people, and they can get the jobs here, they can get the training here, and they can be employed here locally.
100%. We want to retain that talent in our region. That's the focus for every region. You don't want them leaving, and realistically, they don't have to.
No, they don't.
There are some really good success stories of industry actually acknowledging their place in that marine ecosystem. I'll go back to SeaWorld Cruises. They can deliver and provide qualifications and tickets to operate their vessels to a certain size. But they really appreciate when their workers leave the region and obtain work in, say, Cairns, but they get homesick. They want to come home. And there's this revolving door where they return back to the Gold Coast. But when they do, to set roots with the family and whatnot, that's kind of the way. That's the alignment. When they do return, though, they do return with a higher caliber of operation of vessels and better understanding and appreciation for the water. And also, they've got skills they've learned in different industry and it's literally a different part of the industry they're bringing back to the Gold Coast. And for them, how that builds their workforce profile is second to none. They can't appraise that any more than they could. So.
That's so good. It was our pleasure to be a partner in the Gold Coast Marine Careers Open Day. and that was last year.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through that, because that was highly successful and a great way to get out to mums and dads and everyone what we have on the Gold Coast and what careers are available.
Yeah, I think for our industry, if we're going to actually address this skills shortage issue, it's to, open the doors of this sector and really showcase the different career pathways, that it's more than just that dirty, dingy, sticky, grimy type of environment. It's high net worth. It's we're seeking craftsmen and craftspeople, probably more suitable, to actually undertake those roles. So we had 35 exhibitors at our event last year in October. We had 6 panel discussions talking people from industry talking about superyacht careers in defence, the advanced manufacturing capability that exists on the Gold Coast, and the skill requirements we need there. So massively successful and we appreciate the investment.
That's all right. And I think there were about 100 job vacancies as well that were there on the day.
Yeah.
So you're hoping to run that again? Is that going to be an annual event?
Yeah. So, being industry-led and not government-led, we've got to listen to the voice of industry, particularly if we're expecting them to turn up on the day and exhibit and promote what their opportunities look like. 7th of September is our next date. So Saturday, 7th of September.
Got it.
Coomera
We'll write that down.
Precinct, yep. We've learnt from our event last year, and the one of the big attractions is the waterfront.
Okay.
So we've just delivered our event in Cairns the 8th of June, where Minister Healy announced the regional workforce plan for the Maritime industry. So the waterfront really entices people. We had a 39-metre border force bay class vessel on water for people to actually get on board of. We had a tugboat from one of the international shipping companies, Svitzer, available for young people to get on and speak to engineers.
So they can touch and feel and talk to everyone that's engaged.
It's sensory.
Yeah.
We had an Indigenous ecotourism company doing runs up the Trinity Inlet and giving people that tourism experience. So
good.
And we need to be attached to the water to actually promote it, and that's something we've learned. And we're really excited to bring that back to the Gold Coast.
That'll be exciting.
7th of September.
I'll be climbing on one of those boats and having a look.
Hopefully
we might have a career change.
We have a super yacht hopefully available on a day, but we're trying to work through that. But it's, again, the idea is to really showcase the breadth of opportunities and the commercial elements. It's the manufacturing. It's all those things, yep.
And Sanctuary Cove International Boat Show, now that's always been highly successful, and it's only growing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Expanding and getting a higher profile.
And they're trying to work out where to put everyone, actually, all the exhibitors. It's growing. And
problem to have.
There's some marine industry businesses have come away with 40 plus forward orders for vessels that they may not receive for 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And that 4 to 5 year wait is predominantly from a skills perspective. So
is it? Okay.
Yeah, but that's the quality of our Australian product.
And I think the other thing is, if you get into this profession, if you get into this trade, then it's it's got longevity. Like they've already got 5 years worth of work ahead of them. So that you're right. You've got your apprenticeship done. You've got your training done.
And then further than that, what the opportunities. There's so many entrepreneurial opportunities that exist for young people too. You find these niches where the obviously supply chain issues that were an effect of COVID, that there were some really entrepreneurial young people that have gone, I identify a lack of product, and I will go and create that opportunity.
That's a really good point, isn't it?
And businesses within both of those shipyards too, within Gold Coast City Marine and the Boatworks, we're going to invest in some some technical equipment so we can actually produce and fabricate products that we were relying on the Asian markets for, and they've localized their supply chains, which creates
more jobs and
further jobs vacuum. Yeah. And part of the issue we face right now is I like to I openly say we're in a arms race to attract talent against other industries.
And this is off the bat, but What is the value proposition of the marine industry on the Gold Coast? Do you have any figures around what that, ballpark figure of what that value is to us?
1.2 billion is the value to the Gold Coast economy. Yep.
Wow.
And that's predominantly local jobs. It's if you were to drive down Waterway Drive,
Yep.
that the Gold Coast Marine Precinct or the Coomera Marine Precinct, is the largest shipyard in the Southern Hemisphere.
That's an amazing. So there is value in really, really looking at what the future, future skills and training is required for the Gold Coast to keep that industry growing and moving forward, and not impinging on that development.
No, and complementing the development. We need the development to occur.
Yeah.
So we can have the rental opportunities and the housing opportunities for the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, we'll lose them.
So, looking ahead, what do you think the biggest opportunities for growth and innovation in the marine industry is for us?
Yeah.
Big question.
Yeah. Advanced manufacturing and improving our systems.
Yep.
So looking at how we can refine our product and, create more dynamic and environmentally friendly vessels or products and services into the industry. And there's some really groundbreaking stuff that's happening, particularly in the EV space. Vessels they're using recycled carbon fiber from wind turbines for the hull. Good. For the hull and structural components of the vessels, and they're EV powered. So that's happening on the Gold Coast right now. The biggest end of life issue we've seen for the marine industry is the impact that the composites, fiberglass, has on our, on the environment.
On the environment,
there's been some really great stuff with some universities in Victoria that have found a way to remove the resin and recompensate the I think that's a word. Recreate the that carbon fiber to be utilised in new vessel builds. So then you don't have an end of life issue.
Yeah,
and you've also got an EV component that's reducing the burden of fossil fuels on the industry.
Gold Coast never ceases to surprise me with how innovative and how much is being done that we don't hear about. How and that whole environmental sustainability and recycling issue is a big issue. So it's really good to hear that we're sort of in that field and working towards that carbon neutral as well.
Yeah, it needs to happen. Has to happen tomorrow. And again, there's state government got some great initiatives around hydrogen, and they're teasing out some of those opportunities, looking at, net zero, vessels working through the different waterways between here and Brisbane, and some vessels being designed and manufactured and looking in the Whitsundays as well. I think every region that is a marine hotspot for Queensland has some form of eco-friendly net zero marine project underway.
That's excellent. Good to hear. So if I was a young person and I got really excited by what you've been saying, and I'm looking at entering the marine industry, what advice would you give them?
Oh, that's a big question.
I know.
Isn't it?
It is. It is, but I'm also really conscious that out there's a lot of information for young people. Like, you can be anything, you can do anything, you can work in different fields, but there's so much, it can become quite confusing.
Yes. There's a few avenues for that. So the first one for young people, so high school age people, like your students, is you have to try everything. Don't just have your goal set saying, when I finish school, I'm going to be a designer. I'm going to be, open yourself to the opportunities that exist. I think a better way to move forward to address the skills issue is how well the tertiary sector and the vocational sector can intersect.
Yeah.
So, gone are the days where we need to segregate those two and say, you're going to university. Well, the most competent people in this industry are those that have that tertiary mindset, that function, but they also know how to build, manufacture, and design. So the end-to-end, they say the best architect is actually a builder.
Yeah.
So I'd say to any young person, don't just be focused on that tertiary entry. Look at how you can develop your skills and actually test yourself.
Yeah.
That's my advice for school-age students, and for those that are in, industries or tradespeople that are in aligned industries, don't do the highway north to Brisbane. There's a significant amount of earning potential on the Gold Coast. Some of the most proficient boat builders I've seen in my time building boats across different businesses in the Gold Coast years ago. They are cabinet makers from other industries. They're shop fitters.
Yeah.
They're carpenters, or they're diesel mechanics that were been working on, old equipment, saying that in north of the Gold Coast, and they want to work on an engine that you could literally eat off because it's so clean and well maintained. So for people working in aligned sectors that are tradespeople or technical skills, if you've got a boat in the driveway,
just do it.
Just do it.
And of course, for more information and to get to really be able to touch and see, we'll do a bit of a plug for the the Careers Day as well, which I think you said 7th of September?
7th of September, we'll have some information we can circulate.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I put it up so that everyone listening, if you're interested, we'll make sure we put that up on the podcast. Great. But look, it's been great talking to you. But before you go, you live here on this wonderful Mount Tamborine.
Yes.
What is it about this region that keeps you excited and keeps you here, or the Gold Coast in general, really?
The Gold Coast have got that great marketing campaign, the green behind the gold.
Yes.
I love it. It's a great sense of community here. For me, it's 30 minutes to the boatyards or the shipyards in Coomera. It's great, way of life. I think, you've got a good sense of community. You can be as involved in it or not as involved in it as you like, but the access to the Gold Coast is a draw card too.
It is. So it's surprisingly close.
It's an hour to Brisbane if you really want to go to Brisbane, but half an hour to where most of that marine activity is happening. 45 minutes to the Gold Coast, to Southport, and I think through the boat show week it was only 40 minutes with the backlog of traffic getting into the Sanctuary Cove International Boat Show. So
it's faster than I was.
Accessibility is a draw card. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been great speaking with you today and hearing about how exciting our marine industry is. So thanks a lot, Adam.
Oh, thanks, Estella. I'm glad we finally got here. It took us a little while, but
we did.
It's good.
And a great venue.
Venue. The guys here at the Knoll Studio do a great job. So
yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. For a complete list of podcast episodes and transcripts, go to rdagoldcoast.org.au/podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter.